Hey YouTube, I'm Ali, welcome to the channel, and welcome to a world of camel racing and camel wagers. Welcome to Camel Up. Camel Up is a racing game involving camels of varying colours, 5 to be exact, racing round a track. It allows you to put wagers or bets on the backs of these camels, determining who's going to be ahead and likely to win at each stage of the race or leg. You're also going to be putting a bet as to who's going to win the overall race and who's going to come last. Doing that amasses you money, and the most amount of money wins the game. Now, when it comes to the box, I would say that's fairly large. It's a perfectly normal box, nothing special about there. There aren't any inserts in there, but there are a couple of columns either side, which I shall pick up and show you in a sec. But let's start with the rule book. Everything is box sized, by the way, so the rule books come in various languages, are giant sized and just a couple of pages long. Very simple to understand, not particularly complex at all. Writing is a little small. I guess I might need reading glasses to read it. I can't remember. Anyway, in terms of a board, here's the board. It's a pretty decent sized board. There we go. It's not double-sided, but it does have a nice camel print on the other side. Most of your cards will sit on the board, but your player cards will, of course, remain with you in your hand. One of the things that this game does do, though, is involve, bizarrely, pyramids. Now, this pyramid is actually a mechanical device you build, and it allows for the release of a single die at a time, a single coloured die, which is used in the playing of the game. It's very simple to put together. Instructions are given in the rule book there. Uses little elastic bands to give that opening and closing mechanism a little bit of a twang, I guess. You get a bunch of extra elastic bands in there as well. But yeah, a little bit of novelty. Now, in there are 5 coloured dice, which represent 5 coloured camels. These are represented here. Hey, camels. Now I put them in a bag. They don't come in a bag. One of the things you need to know about this game is that, and the reason it's called Camel Up, is camels can stack. I believe the camel above is the one in the lead. So on a single space, you can have 2 camels, one on top of the other. Again, I think that's represented in a picture that I would have shown you. Here is a bag of rather chunky and nice. By the way, those camel tokens are made of wood, so have a nice tactile feel to them. Similarly, the cards here, although they're quite small, these tokens, these betting tokens, they are made of chunky cardboard, which has got a good, robust quality to them, so I like that too. Money, you get 1 and 5 coins, which is made of the same cardboard material, and then thinner card is used for notes. So these are like sort of playing size cards. I don't know if you can see that, but they're there. Yeah, nothing special about that. I'm not going to quibble about the size of the cards because I think they're fine. Now, these are the cards you actually have in your hand. I put them in a little plastic container. What you get is 5 waging cards there, each one allowing you to back a particular colour horse, either to win or to lose, and that's done as part of the game on the board. These are a bit small for me personally. I like bigger cards, but that's just me. This little token here is the only element of sabotage that you can apply, or aid, I guess. You can throw this down on the board anytime, either to allow a camel to go an extra space, or on the reverse, put down an oasis and make it go back a space. Again, same material, same chunky cardboard, very simple in its use, I think. Right, so you get a bunch of those for each player. There we go. And I think that's it. So yes, not a huge amount of stuff here. You've got some betting tokens, some player tokens that you use, money, that wonderful little pyramid, which releases a die at a time, and those camels that go around that board. Brilliant. Oh, I was going to show you the inside of the box. There we go. That's the inside of the box. Stacked so that most of it fits inside here, and the pyramid, most importantly, doesn't rattle around too much. There we go. That's the inside of the box. Camel Up is a family-based game suitable for 8-year-old or over, according to the box, and I think I'll agree with it this time. Only because this game could be about probability, well, it is about probability, and it could be utilised as such if you're a maths genius, which I'm not, which is why I never win this damn game. 2 to 8 players is what the box says. I'm not going to disagree with that. I think, again, we had as much fun with 2 players as we do with 8 players. You, as a player, are not actually racing around the board. You're letting other camels race around the board and you're backing them at various bits. You are going to hinder them or try to help them in some instances, but really the number of players doesn't seem to make a huge difference in the enjoyment of this game, which is still very enjoyable. For duration, I'd say this game takes about 30 minutes regardless of the number of players. Again, it's because the players themselves are not racing around the board. The only delays in gameplay are really in sorting out who wins what amount of money. This is very much a board game. The board size, as I showed in the pictures here, or previously, I think, is about 1 meter squared. So the board takes up about 1 meter squared. That's not a huge amount of space, which is good. Can you play this on a train if you're traveling? Probably not. There's probably too many pieces there, but it is a good game to take with you, I still think. So yeah, definitely my board game. Rules were very simple, incredibly simple. Took less than a minute to understand. To explain to a new player took about 2 minutes. So yeah, I'm going to call that a simple game. In terms of depth of complexity, well, like I said, this game is about probability. You're trying to work out who's likely to be first at each part of the race. It doesn't take a huge amount of brains to work that out, I suppose, but there is a little bit of complexity there. I'm still going to call this a fairly simple game regardless. So I'm going to say it's a simple game with simple rules. There we go. There's no direct competition here. It's very much an indirect conflict kind of game. You're going to be slowing down or speeding up camels by either helping them with oases, I don't know what the plural is there, or dry spots, but yeah, indirect conflict. Is this a single player or a team game? It's very much a single player game there. For mechanics, I'm going to be a little bit cheeky here because actually I think there are only 2 real mechanics that stand out. And one of them, laughably, is roll and move. Now, I recently did a video about how much I hate roll and move games, or why I think roll and move games suck in general, but I think this is probably a good interpretation of a modern day version. So roll and move, if you want to see that mechanic in a modern day game, this is it. Second mechanic I would use here, or I would say, is betting or wagering. There's very much large amounts of betting and wagering. That's what this game is entirely about, in fact. So this was a great little game where the theme and the mechanics fit very, very well. In fact, I'm very impressed by how caught up you get in the last few legs of the race. As you roll the dice, it seems pretty random. Well, it is very random to begin with, but the betting mechanism and that clever mechanic of putting one camel on top of another camel, the so-called Camel Up aspect, really gets you drawn in. You start getting quite involved and, well, quite eager that the one that you want to back is actually going to come out ahead. So yes, it draws you in. Theme and mechanics very well done here, very well knitted together indeed. So did I make any meaningful decisions? Yeah, I absolutely did in this game. Though I will say that the decisions you make right at the beginning aren't very focused. They're not really, they're pretty haphazard. You just have a feel that the orange horse is probably going to do well. As you get closer, or as you go through the game, it becomes very apparent who the likely winners, who the likely winners are going to be and who the likely losers are going to be. In that regard, you are still deciding as to whether or not you should be spending your valuable betting tokens now or later. In terms of multiple paths of victory, I can't say there are, I'm afraid. Really, this is a game about betting what you think is going to win. There is a little bit of choice there in betting who you think is going to lose, and you might be able to manipulate that dice roll by putting down your Oasis token, but it really doesn't come through as much. It's not really very strong in its ability to change the decision. So yeah, I'm going to say no, there aren't really meaningful decisions to be made here. Are skill and luck balanced? Well, no, this is probably a little bit more luck than there is skill here. The skill is really in knowing at what stage of the game you should actually start backing a camel properly, inverted commas, or putting down the right sort of bets. In that regard, I would say it's probably, like I said, a little less luck, a little bit more skillful. Will a seasoned player do any better than someone who's new? No, probably not, actually. Well, I don't think so. I think the advantage will be if you're quick at maths and you can work out good probabilities of what's going to happen based on dice rolls and where the camel is. But in terms of the actual skill and luck, which would imply that skill is actually quite in demand, but that's by the by. In terms of an overall game, I think it's a little more luck than there is skill in this game. Was there much downtime and was I engaged? Actually, one of the things I loved about this game is that to begin with, it did seem a bit haphazard. The rounds are very, very quick. Everyone takes their round quite quickly, so I don't think there's much sort of sitting around and idly looking at your phone in this game. But as you get closer to the end, when those camels are in the home stretch, you really do get caught up. And actually, it's very engaging, especially in the last few turns, to see whether or not the camel you want to win actually does. Finally, for the iconography and the artwork, I think everything fitted really well together, actually. Most of the components were on the board, which was great. You probably do need a little bowl for your coins and such like, and the cards fitted in your hand. I mean, even my hands pretty well. So yeah, I would say good marks for the iconography and the legibility of text here. I did enjoy Camel Up, and I would say this is a great game to play with a family, actually. Family or very close friends. It's probably not good for a hardcore board gamer because I don't think there's enough substance there, but for a bit of light fun, I think this plays really well. So yeah, I liked it overall. Guys, that was my very quick review of Camel Up. It's a game that's won a number of awards, including Game of the Year for 2014. I do think it's worth picking up. It's a good example of a modern roll and move game, which is why I included it in my selection of games to review. If you've enjoyed this video, please do give me a thumbs up. And if you like this kind of content, or if you're interested in board game design, which is a series I'm currently doing, then consider subscribing to the channel. Until next time though, folks, take care.